is a place.
No, no, no. Home is a feeling.
Home is my motherland.
It's more where you feel alive and inspired.
Well, I think we're talking about the same thing, aren't we? Home is where our story begins.
What's your story?
Homesick at Home every Friday from 9 to 10 p.m.
On Radio Van 103.1 with Ina MK
and Rina D.
Shot City, I'm coming home again.
Good evening, dear listeners of Radio Van. This is Friday night, and this is our English-speaking show, Homesick at Home. We'll be with you tonight from 9 to 10 with my lovely co-host, Rina D.
Good evening, Ina.
Good evening. You do it as always. And tonight we're a little bit nervous and excited because we have an honor to host here Petr Mikyska, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary. I always pronounce it right. The Czech Republic to the Republic of Armenia. Good evening.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening, Rena.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm probably much more nervous than you are.
No. 5 minutes and it will be gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
We promise you. So, our first question. Well, you've been here before, right? And now you're on air for the first time at our radio show. We would like to hear your story. Where were you born and raised? Let's start from the very beginning.
Okay, from the birthday. Well, I was born in Czech Republic, that time Czechoslovakia, in a small city, Městec Králové. And it was by accident because the hospital in my hometown was under reconstruction at that moment, and all the deliveries must be done in other city, just 15 kilometers from there. And the coincidence, a lovely coincidence, is that my wife was born there also, and my best friend is a chief doctor at this time in the same hospital. So, well, yes, I was born there, and I spent my childhood and my youth in a very small city called Nymburk, 15,000 inhabitants, 50 kilometers from Prague, and a very beautiful historical city. And now I live just 10 kilometers from there in Poděbrady, which is a spa city, historical city, also the same distance from Prague, 20 minutes on a highway. So that was my beginning. It all began there, in a small towns around Prague.
That's nice. Mr. Ambassador, I'd like to say welcome to the show, first of all. And then I would like to ask, you have been here for quite a while in Armenia. Can you tell us how this all happened? Why Armenia? How did it happen?
Well, you are right. So I will celebrate the 6th anniversary of my stay here in Armenia in May.
Wow.
I must say that I am the longest serving diplomat here, although I am not a dean of the diplomatic corps because I came as a chargé d'affaires, not as ambassador, in 2012. And how it happened? Well, I was a head of department of economic relations with CIS countries at that time. And so I was working on all CIS countries and obviously with Armenia and on Armenia also. And maybe my reports and remarks on Armenia impressed the minister. So when he decided to open the embassy in 2012 here in Yerevan, so I was asked to take over and come and open the embassy. And maybe it was not only because of those reports and my involvement with Armenia, but maybe it was also because I opened our Consulate General in Canada, in Toronto before, and so maybe a minister told to himself that, okay, he is able to open the business, so let's try it once more. And after 2 years, the minister decided to upgrade the embassy, expand it, and I was promoted to ambassador. So this is the story. Why Armenia? I don't know. well, it was a decision of minister, of course, not mine, but I am happy that I am here.
And we are happy that you are too.
You've been in so many countries. Can you name them first of all, and then where was the most one of the most exciting experiences that you had besides Armenia, of course?
Yeah, well, I worked in a couple of countries. Well, I started in Chile, and it was my studies in diplomatic academy combined with my work in the embassy. But it was not the first country where I lived. The first country where I lived for a longer time, it was in Moscow, in Russia, and I was studying there for 5 years. And then I started to work, so my first was Santiago de Chile. Then I moved to Cuba after a couple of months in Prague. And so after Cuba, and again after stay in Prague, I was almost 6 years in Peru, in Lima. Then, as I mentioned, I was sent to Toronto, Canada, to open the Consulate General. From there I moved to Mexico, and then back to Prague, and after 1.5 years in Prague, I'm here.
What is the most exciting part about your work?
I try to avoid this because it's impossible to answer this question. Not that I am not given this question a lot of times, but it's impossible because you love the country where you live. If you don't, you have nothing to do there. You should feel at home where you are working. You should respect the country. You should try to know the country before, to study a little bit about the country, and then to travel around the country. Without that, it's impossible. And during this process, it's impossible not to fall in love. So all countries where I was were exciting, maybe for different reasons. Maybe some countries for their beaches, maybe other countries for their food, other countries for wonderful landscapes, you name it. But all those countries have something special and something that you can really enjoy it, something that you really love the country for.
I gather that you're a very romantic person.
No, I am not. I just enjoy my life, and this is part of it.
And what are the things that you will remember about Armenia when you leave? Like, can you name 5 things?
5 things? Yeah. Only?
No, more. We want more. Okay, 10. Let's go for 10.
Well, I'm thinking where to start, because, well, probably that would be considered the most important. So, no, there is no order, just food. People. I should have started from people, because, in fact, I replied that even before I left Prague, and I had a meeting with business people, and we were talking about business opportunities, investment opportunities, and well, they asked me, so what do you like now before you go? What do you like most of Armenia? And I said, well, I know a lot of Armenians living here in Prague, so I must say Armenians, people. So, people, food, landscape, skiing.
Wow. Skiing,
yeah.
Hiking, even, although I'm not a hiker, history, architecture, food again.
Yeah, by the way, which
Wine.
is your favorite food?
Favorite
Here,
food?
the dish.
A lot of things, anything with eggplant. Gata. Dolma. Yep. And obviously the wide range of shashliks. It's impossible to miss.
A real Armenian
but this
taste.
is also, from the other point of view, it's the worst thing of Armenia. because if you are
Because you get
prone
attached.
to try to find out what the food is about, in a couple of months you will wait totally different.
That's so true.
So this is really a problem for me. But as I said, it was something that I really like and I enjoy.
Yes, talking about skiing, you just mentioned skiing. I think you have an interesting story to tell us about that.
Well, I'm skiing since I was 2 years old, so for me it's quite natural way of living, and I love mountain only in the winter when I can ski, and it's beautiful to have such a nice resort as Czachkadzor, and why not to say Jermuk. Jermuk is a nice place to ski, but nobody knows it. And very few people go there, and it's really a rare occasion to be able even to ski, because well, there are nice tracks, there is a ropeway, you can rent the skis in Jermuk also, but unfortunately not so many people are coming, so the municipality is not cleaning the tracks. And so yeah, well, once I had the story that I came there and the tracks were not cleaned, so we couldn't ski. But it's a beautiful, beautiful resort, and has one privilege: there is no wind. In Czachkadzor there is a lot of wind. In Czachkadzor, in those occasions when I visited Jermuk has no wind.
What about skiing in the center of the city?
And this we will.
Now, yeah, that's the story when we were talking before, when we went on air. Well, it was in 2014, and it was the end of the winter. It was already spring, end of March, and beginning of April. And on Sunday, we woke up in the Yerevan. It was 31st of March, and Yerevan was covered with snow. And well, I woke up and I tried to tell my wife, "Come on, let's see. You have to come and see. We've got snow." And she told me, "No, you are lying. You just want me out of bed, and I don't believe you." I said, "Well, not only there is a snow, but from here I can see a gentleman skiing on Khanjan." Can you imagine on Khanjan? Well, just right here. And well, on that, yes, she jumped out of the bed, and well, she had to see that, and that, yes, definitely there was a gentleman skiing.
And I hope that one day we'll wake up in a world without advertisements. But for now, we need to go on an advertisement break.
Necessary.
Stay tuned. This is Homesick at Home, and we will be back pretty soon. Rena, make yourself at home.
But Ina, Yerevan is already my home.
But I mean Radio Van.
You mean a home within a home?
Homesick at Home on Radio Van 103.1. Join us every Friday. Homesick at Home. And yes, we're back, and this is Homesick at Home, and we have a very special guest tonight, Ambassador of Czech Republic to the Republic of Armenia, Mr. Petr Mikyska. So for those of you who don't have access to the frequency, you can just go on our official Facebook page of Radio Van and watch and listen us right now. And so we mentioned before, Mr. Ambassador, that you've been here. And can we tell a little bit the story of how we met you in at our radio before having you here on air? So earlier, last month, we were organizing a charity concert which was aimed to help kids who are suffering cancer. And so we would like to mention that Mr. Ambassador had his, we had the pleasure of him helping us to realize this implementation of this concert. So thank you very much once again. We want to do it on air right now. And the concert was a big success, and we collected a good amount of money. And so it's all now serving the goal that
needed
we had.
needed kids. Well, it was my pleasure to help and to support your great initiative. I think it's obligation of all of us to help. So I use this opportunity that I visited the radio and knew about the concert, about the charity, about this initiative, and well, it was my pleasure to support.
Thank you very much once again.
Well, on the other side, my profession is a journalist also, so
Wow.
I'm your colleague. I never worked as a journalist except during the summer, and that was quite nice, but I still feel to be a little bit in this business also, and I'm always interested in newspapers, and especially the headquarters of newspapers, radios, TVs. So I really like to come to radios, to TV stations, and it was one of those occasions, and I met wonderful people here in the radio, and it's all very pleasant for me.
It's very mutual.
Talking about how you all started, you were talking about journalism, how you studied. How did you earn your first salary, if we may ask you?
You mean the first one?
Yes.
The very first one.
The very first one. Well, I hope that will not offend those defenders or promoters of the prohibition of children labor.
No.
So you were that young?
I was 14. I just started my secondary school, and it's quite common for kids and it always was and still is a tradition for kids that they spend part of their vacations working and make some money, to buy something what just they want and not ask parents for donation for that. So I was working on archaeological excavations.
Wow, that is an experience for a 14-year-old.
Yeah, it was probably the only job I could get at that moment. I don't know. There was no special interest in the beginning, but then, that caught me, and I really enjoyed it. It was a month working, and I had to travel like 15 kilometers to that site. That was an archaeological site from 8th century, so we were excavating very carefully, and unfortunately, boys, we were used only as a labor force, so we had to dig and carry that stuff, and the ladies were cleaning everything and doing the job I was interested most, maybe. But yes, it was quite experience. Well, I don't remember what I bought for that money, that's for sure. But I really loved it.
It's a cool experience of learning to earn money.
Yeah, really. And then, obviously you go to the museum and you see the stuff you really excavated with your hands, and
wow,
you see the results.
Yeah.
That's a very thankful thing to do. Do you have a motto in life? No?
No.
Okay.
My parents were really afraid of letting me drive a motorbike, so I don't have a motto, and I did try it. I tried it, and I was 15 at that moment, and we were celebrating the end of the school year. It was the first year of the secondary school, and at that age, I'm not so happy about it, but you always experiment with alcohol.
Did your parents know about
They
it?
did not.
Okay.
I hope they are not listening
We'll
now.
keep it a secret.
I hope the parents and the children are listening right now.
The children are okay. They are already grown ups.
By the way, are your children listening to you now?
I hope.
Yeah. We can say hello to them.
Where is the camera? Here? Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, hello.
And that time I tried it because a lot of my friends were riding a bike at that moment, but they didn't tell me where is the brake. So I was going around, and finally I finished in the door of of the house. You know, I didn't know how to stop. So this is my motor story, and I have a lot of respect. I think that it's a very powerful thing that can kill people, and
Yes.
I saw accidents, so no, I don't.
Since we are talking about exciting experiments, what would be the most exciting experiment for you here in Armenia?
Well, the beginning. Well, just coming here with my 2 suitcases, knowing nobody. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to start to work. Well, at that time, the embassy was meant as a micro embassy. One-man show, just me and my assistant, nobody else. And so we were renting part of the Polish embassy, right here, 300 meters, 200 meters from here. And so I knew nothing. That was my probably the largest challenge, how to start. And obviously to start working, to start with new relations, setting up the embassy, first steps in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, establishing contacts, even buying furniture for the embassy and doing it all practically, buying cars,
So from
establishing
zero.
communication from zero. And that was very interesting. Unfortunately, that had one very unpleasant effect on me, because when I came, my idea was to start learning Armenian.
Oh,
And in the beginning, unfortunately, I was not given a time for that. And when I had a little bit of time, I realized that I don't need it, because everybody speaks either Russian or English. And
too bad.
so I was not forced. And then I told myself, okay, you will spend 4 years here, so well, you don't speak, but you can survive those 4 years. Well, now it's 6 years, and last 2 years I'm really worrying that I didn't learn Armenian before, because...
But do you know a couple of words?
Yerkus pitagini.
The most important phrase that you need.
For a wine lover, yes.
For
And
English
obviously
speakers, I will
couple
trans-
more. But
yeah, go ahead,
no,
please.
no.
So, talking about wine, do you enjoy Armenian wine?
Yeah, it's not a secret. I'm a wine lover. And I am happy that I could experience the wine revolution in Armenia. When I came, just a couple of weeks later, a friend of mine came here and asked me, so what are we drinking here? Do you know any decent wine? And I had to tell him, yeah, I know one. And, well, he liked the wine, he brought it back to Prague, and now he's importing this wine. It was Karas. And at that time, for me, Karas was the only wine I was able to drink. And I remember the stories like, well, with the winemaker, Mr. Kevshegyan, when we were asking, where is your wine? There is none in the shop. And he said, you drank it all. Because really the production was not enough even for the local market. And it took 3 years for the company to expand enough to be able to export. And I'm really happy that wine is, and it's not the only wine,
Yes.
Armenian wine in the Czech Republic. So I'm happy that now we could see so many new brands, so many very, very good dry wines, because, well, I am a fan of dry wine. And earlier it was only semi-sweet or sweet wine, so that was the reason I told him there is just one. And so yes, this is one of the major achievements for Armenia in those 6 years I experienced, and the development of restaurant business, of cafes. That's something that anybody who came earlier and can compare with today's situation must see it immediately.
You spoke about achievements, and can we speak a little bit about you maybe experiencing some culture shocks when you first came, or things you disliked, or weird stories, maybe funny?
Well, no
They
cultural
should
shocks.
be.
No cultural shocks. I wouldn't even say dislikes. Yeah, well, there were some things I noticed, of course, and well, something that didn't shock me, but yes, well, I was, frowning a
Concerned.
little bit on that, and that was, I wouldn't say a big one, and well, it's a delicate thing, so I'm sorry that I am speaking so broken English, but it was not 100% and complete respect to the law and obedience to the law. Well, unfortunately, I experienced that the people, it will finish. We will make it somehow. Either we can pay there, pay here, or nobody will know. And the Czechs, we are not 100% law-abiding persons. No, we also try to somehow, but there is a general feeling that there is a law and we have to respect it and follow it. And I didn't have this feeling in Armenia. In the very beginning, I must say that the situation is changing, that's for sure.
Good.
But yes, that was one of those things that I was wondering how the society can work if the drivers are not obeying the police. If there is even a verdict of a court, and the people are thinking that they still can revert it somehow. Well, that was difficult for me.
Yes.
You spoke about certain similarities with Czech and Armenian people. Are there any other things you could mention?
Similarities. Oh yeah. Well, we are both funny people. I think that we love to celebrate. We love to sing, dance. Although I'm not a dancer, but I think that both our nations and the people we can enjoy, and we know how to enjoy life. I think this we have in common.
Do you say long toasts during your
Yeah,
during the parties?
No, better not. I will be no.
Maybe now you will, after you go back. Remembering the culture here.
Good.
Mr. Ambassador, what is the definition of home? Since you're a person that travels a lot and makes home a place for a certain period of time, what is the definition of home for you?
For me, okay, that's important. Well, there was a song in early 80s, and it was Paul Young, Wherever I Lay My Head, That's My Home.
Yes.
And this is probably my perception of home, because of last 30 years, all my adult life, I practically spent abroad. Always with ties, obviously, with my home country. But you have to feel at home where you currently are. As I said before, if not, you are lost.
Yeah.
You will feel homesickness, and you will just be craving for your mom's food, and
Right.
impossible to live this way. So if someone opts for this job and this career, so he must be really accustomed to travel and live outside of his country, or her country, of course, and must feel well, even in this situation. And I enjoy it, I must say.
But still, what do you miss the most about your homeland? Besides mom's food.
Well, friends, probably. Well, friends. although I left my family when I was 17 because of I finished my secondary school outside of my city, then the university in other country, and then somewhere abroad again. So I don't have a lot of friends, but I have very good friends. Couple of them, and yes, this is something what time after time I miss. But today we have Facebook, we have internet, we have a lot of means how to communicate with your friends. And on the other side, this constant movement gives you the opportunity to have much more friends. And because of the technical means, you can maintain the contact with them.
Sure.
And if you meet them again later in other country, working again, yes, then you become the lifetime friends. Well, those are known people you were working with, they are your friends, but okay, they are somewhere else and maybe you will never see them again, but suddenly, yes, you are together again. And I have such a friend, a Swedish guy. We were working in Cuba with the kids of the same age, and then we met again in Mexico 15 years later. So you can imagine. So this is something that this way of life gives you and takes from you also.
Yes. We were talking about the wine development, the wine industry and the restaurants. What are some of the other positive changes you have witnessed in Armenia for the past 6 years?
Well, the change in political culture also. Although I am sure that many of my Armenian friends will not agree with me, yes, there is a change. And what I see is different, and now I must say it's linked with my business and with my work. Also, it's a different export offer of Armenia. This is developing a lot. And we can see it even in the data, hard data of exports, that this is changing. Before we were exporting to Armenia consumer goods, beer, glass, some cosmetic stuff, etc. And now we are exporting technology. Why? Because businesses are using this technology for their development and for a new export offer, and obviously we can see it then in the figures of Armenian export to Czech Republic included. So this is another thing I think that we experienced in those 6 years, and I'm happy about it. This is development.
Yes.
And we're happy to hear that. Mr. Ambassador, I have a question, funny, kind of.
But this is your job.
If you found a genie in a bottle, what would you wish for?
I would wish for my life to continue in such a pleasant way I am living now, probably.
Wow, that's great.
No, because it would be silly to ask for some material goods, and I think I have it all. I have great family, I have wonderful job, I have a lot of friends.
You're in Armenia.
I am in Armenia. So yes, and the rest we can buy.
So you sound like a happy and successful person. What would be some tips to other people to feel the same way? Because maybe there are a lot of people who complain about their lives, and
it's all about the angle you see into your life, into the world, and your perception. If you are a positive person, yeah, everything will be okay, because maybe there is a failure, maybe there is a development you don't like, maybe there is something that went wrong. Me personally, I always think that everything is for purpose. That there is always
a
reason for everything. So if something went wrong, yeah, probably that was as it should be. So why should I complain?
So, do you believe in freedom of choice or fate?
Freedom of choices. with some fate.
With a pinch of fate.
No, I am not a religious
nice
person, but
answer.
I do believe in something.
That power.
That power.
Yes. I want to ask a question. What would be something that you have learned in Armenia from Armenians?
Hmm. That you must be always self-confident and persuasive, and then you will reach your goals. Well, sometimes some people don't stop there. And well, I have also the experience that that some people think that they know it all and know it better, and even if they ask you for help, finally they don't guide themselves by your advice, for example. But what I mentioned in the beginning, yes, this is something what I learned here, that you must be really persuasive. You must be really trying hard, and you will succeed. And well, a lot of my Armenian friends, a lot of Armenian figures from the history taught me that, and I'm grateful for that.
So you would say that this is a virtue, a trait that the Armenians have?
I think so. Yes. I don't know. Maybe you don't agree with me, but this is something I experienced here, and I do feel respect to that.
Mr. Ambassador, you spoke earlier about not having a wish to change anything about your life, and you mentioned that you're happy with everything you have. And what about changing something about yourself? Is there something that you would like to change about yourself?
Yeah, but well, it's too late for it now. But I had that chance, and I made my decision when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
And it was a wish of my grandfather. Well, I was attending the violin classes, but I hated it. But from my heart, I hated it. And that time, the ice rink was opened in my city. So on my way to these violin classes, once I just went to the ice rink, and my parents were waiting for me, and it was 6, it was 7, it was 8, and I wasn't at home. So they went to try to find me somewhere, and they couldn't do it. By 9 o'clock they found me in the ice rink. I was sitting on the violin case, and I was watching hockey. And my mother was furious, so she left. My father sat by me and asked me, "Do you like hockey?" I said, "I love it." "Do you want to play hockey?" And I said, "Instead of playing violin?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "May I?" And well, that was the end of my violin classes and the beginning of my hockey career. But well, my ice hockey career went wrong. It was not my sport, definitely, and I still feel that maybe I should play violin. I am not a musician. I think I am musically I'm deaf, but maybe there is something in me, because my son is a composer, and he plays anything he touches. So maybe my violin should be given a chance. Should have been
Well,
given.
it might turn
It's never
into
too late,
a
though.
very interesting pastime, a hobby, even at this age. I don't think it's too late.
So can we speak a little about your sons and what they do?
Where should we start? Hobbies. Okay. Well, as I
Do they like Armenia?
yeah, they love it, of course. Well, both of them. Well, both of them. I say both of them. I have 2 kids from my first marriage, 2 sons, and a daughter from the second. she's my stepdaughter. But I think that all of them visited Armenia. All of them love Armenia, and yep, well, they like to come. Well, that's for sure. Back to my hobbies. Well, I spent my childhood and youth in sports and reading, and this is kind of my hobbies. Not too much reading anymore, no time. But the sports are something I can relax, and that's my preferential hobby. So skiing, golf, squash, tennis.
You'll do all of this in Armenia?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know you can play golf here. Where
you
could you do
In
that?
Vagny.
In Vagny.
In
Oh,
Vagny.
wow. That's right. The golf.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Although, well, it's not a classical course, of course. Well, it's not maintained the way you should probably, but it's a place to play, and it's a place to come. A lot of friends are coming there and playing. So, yeah, golf is a way of life.
Yes. Do you remember the last book that you read?
Yes. I don't remember the name of the author. I don't remember the title.
Okay.
It was not a serious literature. It was, in fact, a book my wife gave me because she couldn't read it.
Okay.
This is such a, I had a word in my mouth. It's such a unpleasant reading for me. So you should try. It was a book, sort of diary of a gentleman a Czech one, who is on maternity leave. And so he is raising his little son from 3 weeks, maybe more, two months, up to 1 year. So this is 1 year in a growing process of a little kid. And, well, maybe it was not interesting for my wife, but it was very funny for me. Because I still do remember some stories very similar with my kids also. And so, yeah, it was very comical, funny.
You mentioned earlier when we were not on air yet about your son making a film about Armenia. Could we speak about that?
Yes, of course. I am really proud of him. It's my youngest son, and he's a musician. He's a composer, studying composition. And so his part in this movie making was the music, obviously, and sounds. With his friend, they tried to shoot a movie about Armenia and the Czech Republic the way nobody understands what is what. Where is Armenia, where is the Czech Republic, and are not able to distinguish. Not that they were especially looking for those locations, but they were just shooting, and then they cut it in the way they presented it. And it's an experimental movie. Well, they got some funding from Czech Radio also, and they presented the movie in the official visit of a Speaker of the Senate of the Czech Republic here in Armenian Center of Experimental Contemporary Art. And it was very funny to see the delegation watching this experimental movie they basically didn't understand and didn't like. But I think it is an interesting movie. It was quite successful back in Prague. They presented it in several occasions and made even a performance with the movie and presentation on radio. So, yes, I really feel very proud of him.
I wonder what inspired him. Maybe your love for Armenia, or
I don't know, because, well, he came before to Armenia, so when they came shooting, they already knew what to do. Yes, he loved it. You know, he came both in summer and the winter, spring, so maybe this was,
Maybe he felt some similarities also and wanted to kind of...
Well, in fact, the movie is about these
Yes.
similarities, so maybe he felt it, and that was the
Yes, he
idea.
wanted to portray that. It's interesting. Mr. Ambassador, is there anything that you can call a phobia?
That's what I wanted to ask.
I'm sorry.
It's a traditional question, I see.
Always.
Phobias? No, probably not. Maybe the phobia of being alone,
Mm.
but, well, I never experienced that, fortunately.
Can we say hello to your wife at the moment? Hello.
On there. No,
I mean,
definitely don't
especially in
have
Armenia,
phobias.
it's a bit difficult to have that phobia, you know, where people are very friendly, very warm. You would never end up lonely.
Okay, is
No.
there something that you would never forgive?
Definitely. If anybody betrays me, well, I hate even thinking about it. You know that, or somebody that you trust can harm you somehow, and it can be obviously in many parts of your life. It can be at work, it can be in your relationship, it can be in your family.
Friendship.
But all of those occasions are bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What has been one of the most important decisions that you have made?
Well, professionally, definitely, that I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs immediately after the university. So I never worked, in fact, in any other any other place. And in personal life, to marry first, to divorce, and marry again.
Interesting.
Are you an emotional person?
I think so.
Is that a good thing?
I hope so.
I think so. I hope so. I like it. So what qualities should a person have to be a diplomat?
Well, there must be certain knowledge, of course, certain
Mhm,
preparation,
of
a
course.
certain background. But speaking about the qualities, I think it should be a little bit extrovert person. The person open to new information, new relationships, new contacts, new
Flexibility,
situations.
Yeah, flexibility.
So the ability to adapt, of course.
Mhm.
Without that, you know, if you are a closed person, you will stay in the office reading newspapers. It's not a diplomat.
Depression.
No, it's
Yes.
diplomacy is something different. It's a conversation. It's a gathering. It's presentation of your country. It's daily contact with your partners, and I think it's important, this openness and readiness to work with other people.
And now we will need to adapt to an advertisement break.
We always do.
We're enjoying this open, honest, cozy conversation with Mr. Mikyska. Thanks for being here with us. We have another 10 minutes to go. This is Homesick at Home, Radio Van 103.1. Stay tuned.
Աղջիրենա, ոնց ես?
Ina, I thought this was an English-speaking show.
Բայ խայտարակ եղա, are we on air?
Yes. Every Friday night.
Homesick at home.
We're back in our studio chatting about everything and, of course, enjoying the company of our dear guest, Mr. Ambassador. And so we have 10 more minutes to go, and we had bunches of questions.
I have one more.
I'm already
Yeah,
afraid.
okay, go ahead. Go for it.
Okay, soon, because of the diplomatic career that you have, you will be leaving Armenia. But are there any projects or anything that will that will kind of sustain this tie, I mean, between the Czech Republic and Armenia?
Well, all my almost 6 years now, I was trying to promote these ties and obviously to present my country, and on the other side to help Armenia also to be better known in Czechia. But well, something left for my last months, because well, I will be leaving in the summer. Is something linked with 25 years of diplomatic relations between Czech Republic and Armenia, something tied with the 100th anniversary of Czechoslovakia, and other anniversaries we have. Well, the 8th is something special for us, because in 1938 there was a Munich agreement when Czechoslovakia was betrayed by their allies, its allies, and so we lost our sovereignty at the time. In 1948, that was another dark date. That well, it was a start of socialism in Czechoslovakia. In 1968, Prague Spring, a hope for socialism in Czechoslovakia and democracy. And so we have a couple of anniversaries, and so we will commemorate those anniversaries in the second half of the year. But now, well, we will have two beautiful performances in Yerevan, and not only in Yerevan. It will be in Gyumri, also in Dilijan, in Armavir, in Goris. We invited one of leading Czech theaters, which is called Quite Big Theater. They are combining all forms of theater, even ballet, singing, music, dancing, everything is in. And they bring a beautiful play, Time and Love, Love and Time. I will not say the content, but well, I would like to invite also your listeners. Here in Yerevan, it will be May the 2nd, which is Saturday, if I make no mistake, in Paronian Theatre.
So it's love and
Time.
love and time. What is love?
Everywhere.
What is love
What is love?
to you?
To me? It's a secret.
Okay.
No.
Love?
And I think it's something different for all of us.
Love, time, and secret.
Okay, new play.
It's something different, and he doesn't want to tell us about it.
So 2nd of May, Paronian Theatre, and the
7
time?
o'clock.
7
7
o'clock.
o'clock.
Okay.
Hopefully,
is
we
it
will
possible
be
to
there.
get? Is it tickets?
Free entrance.
Free entrance. Great.
It's organized by the embassy. We got support of the Ministry of Culture, and we really appreciate it. So this enables us to make the free entrance.
Wonderful.
And yes.
Maybe,
Renata?
maybe, Mr. Ambassador, you would like to ask us a question or two, if you have anything to ask.
Well, I must say that I saw part of the interview of my Swiss colleague.
Okay.
The part when he was asked or given the opportunity to ask the question. It was a wonderful question he made about the history of Radio 1. But I would like to know, what do you know about my country? And what do you think about my country? Or what's your impression? What's your best thinking or your worst impression of my country or the people or anything?
I know that for sure that it is in my to-go list. I've never been there, and with touristic places and the pictures I've seen so far,
Yes.
and from the friends that have visited it, they are so excited, and I have heard so many good, feedback, and I just have
Especially
to go
about
there.
Prague.
Yes,
It's-
yes,
they
Prague.
And by the way,
say
you
it's
will
a-
have the opportunity to fly directly. since June 8th,
Right.
there will be a direct flight between Yerevan and Prague, so Czech Airlines are back.
We should,
And I
we
know
should
that
do
it's
this.
like one of the most castle-rich countries in Europe, right?
Great.
Yes, I've
Thank you.
seen photos also. It's beautiful. I would like to really visit and see that beautiful city. But other than that, I'm kind of blank. I don't know much. I mean, I know a bit about the history and what happened lately, but other than that, culture-wise, I do not have much information
Mhm.
personally.
Shame on us.
Well, we
Yes.
will bring some movies in the second half of the year. There will be a movie
That would be
festival
great.
of Czechoslovak movies, so that will be something.
Yes, we will look
Exhibitions.
forward to that. Yes.
So we will try to assist you in this. But I am happy that you know at least where Prague is.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Thanks to our friends who have visited.
And then when we go there, we will brag about knowing Mr. Ambassador.
Yes, of
Mr.
course.
Ambassador is our friend.
I hope we will not find anybody who hates me.
I bet we won't. So we're coming to an end. Our show,
Unfortunately.
yeah, unfortunately. And we could speak more and more, discovering so many things about each other's countries and personalities, but unfortunately the time is up, and we would like to ask you to say, if you have anything to say to Armenia. We know that you've been here for 6 years, and some sad day your visit will finish here, but right here, right now, on air.
Well, I don't
Radio
want
Van.
to.
No goodbyes.
That would sound as a goodbye.
No goodbyes. Just
And
some.
well, I know that I will come back because, with one exception, which was Cuba, I always came back to the countries where I lived and where I worked. So I know that I will be back. But, well, maybe, yes, I am very grateful for those 6 years. I started the new embassy and I got a lot of help. I developed many activities, and again I got a lot of help and assistance, and I am very grateful for this interaction, for this hospitality. Yeah, although I don't like to use this word, but it's a kind of it's a part of Armenians, the hospitality. And this is something that every diplomat will take with him in his heart. It's something that he will cherish the rest of his life, and a reason why to come back. And I would like to make a wish also for Armenians. Keep on track. Get going. You are on the right path, and you will succeed.
Thank you
That's
so much.
beautiful.
We're about to tear up here on air. Thank you so much for
It was a
accepting our
pleasure.
invitation. Yeah, it was a
Thank
great
you.
pleasure, and hope to see you around, of course.
I'm living just here.
This was Homesick at Home. This was Friday night, and we're leaving you guys with a great weekend wishes. Thank you,
Enjoy
Mr.
it.
Ambassador.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, listeners, for listening. And well, if I may, join you in this wish of very nice weekend.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
night.
Good night.
Good night.